dangerous. So assault and battery, either the threat of bodily harm or an unlawful touching of another person without justification or excuse. The difference between assault and battery would be assault, more of apprehension on the part of who is, being committing the assault, and then battery is something more intentional. The case of the John Jay football players who were instructed by their coach to tackle the official. One of the players tackled the official to bring him down. The other one, helmet first, caused a concussion to the official. No place in that for high school sports. It's ridiculous that the coach had instructed his players to do this, and he rightfully lost his job as well. And there's just more of it talking about the coach from John Jay High School. Included with that is the criminal negligence, recklessness, or hazing. Hazing is not as prevalent in the high schools nowadays, but we've still will talk to our athletes about treating the upperclassmen, treating younger athletes with care and with respect as well, to make sure that those athletes are felt to be in a safe place on our teams. There's a link of a video that I could show you very, very quickly. Sorry about the commercial. So here's the play. Looks to be intentional, really, really hard to tell. It could have been a moment in the heat of the game, and kind of with the reaction of the head coach here, seems as though, it was something that was egregious, something that was on purpose, and it's a very, very dangerous play. I know within the rules of the game, it's to be very, very close, but in those types of events, kind of the unwritten rule for football players is to let go, real forceful hit to the helmet area. So something that could be considered very, very dangerous. Okay. All right, back to the presentation. The risk management process. Controlling the financial and personal injuries from sudden, unforeseen, unusual circumstances. The DIM process was talked about in the text. Developing the plan, implementing it, managing the plan. Categories where the risk can be seen, where you talk about something that was considered intentional. You have the negligence on the part of the schools. Sexual harassment can also be involved, civil liberty violations. So not just injuries that fall under risk management, but the other off-field issues that could be involved as well. So not just injuries, many different risks that could be taken into consideration. Audits and risk management, so making sure that the risk management is being taken care of. The plan to kind of make sure that potential risks are limited. Layers of protection as well. So ways to say, if there's a risk that can't be taken away, to be able to say, our mission statement is to keep athletes safe. What we provide as the athletic staff, an overview of the certain practices, certain events that could go on as well would be included in the audits. Crisis management process intended to prevent or reduce the damage a crisis can cause. The planning committee of the school would be probably more than likely the facility manager, some type of an administrator, the athletic director, and certain coaches. It's really important to talk about in the event of a broken leg to ensure that the plan is being followed. If there is some type of a fight or some type of event where the safety of the fans would be in question, that's also something that would be taken into consideration as well in the crisis management plan. Due process, so in the event that something did happen where someone was to be injured, we have the procedural due process. It requires that before a government entity deprives an individual of life, liberty, and property, they be given the right to due process. And then substantive would give more power to those families as well. Search and seizure laws comes from the 14th Amendment, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, against unreasonable searches, unless there is some type of a probable cause. The questions that were to be asked: is there state action? Is the conduct a search? Is it a reasonable search? So in the event of any type of drug testing, any type of steroids, PEDs, could be put into question. Not as prevalent in high school, but I know with the wrestling, track and field world that's something that is out there. Baseball as well. So that protects our athletes against that. Drug testing as well. Also students who are experimenting with illegal drugs. It protects them from the unlawful seizure of urine samples, but in the event that there was some type of probable cause, any proof that the athletes were smoking dope or using anything would not protect them from the seizures of their urine after that point. Participants with Disabilities Rehabilitation Act of 1973, any person with a disability would not be excluded from an event that an able-bodied person would be able to compete in. Anyone that is considered that would have some kind of a reasonable ability to play a sport should be allowed to do so. If the school is receiving federal funding, then they must comply with this as well. In the previous to this, it was considered students with disabilities were considered a distraction. They were considered a hassle, and through litigation, this was changed. It's really changed for myself as well, with students that I teach in special education being allowed to be enrolled in general education classes if they show the ability to do so, to be have the same ability to take those classes and to go to college if they wish to do so. Has to do with the Rehabilitation Act as well. So not only just sports, it goes into school academics as well. Title IX put in place for women athletes to be given equal playing field to their male counterparts. The idea that women should be allowed to compete in the same type of athletic, on the same level as the men, is something that is really important. And this goes into play at the high schools as well. If a high school football team is given a bus to a certain location, it would be considered the exact same thing for the girls softball or girls golf team to be given the same respect as well. Just an overview about the liability of law in general in schools with athletics. Very important. I really enjoyed the process of creating an emergency response plan, something that I can use in coaching football, coaching track and field as well. I think that anything that happens as far as an injury, it's really important to say, if we have an athlete go down, isn't responsive, that we go into the next mode of contacting some type of emergency services, contacting the parents right away to allow them to follow up. And then for us as coaches to follow up and to monitor that athlete is something that I think is really, really important. So thank you for your time. I appreciate you guys. God bless.